The ball.
Jerry Neuheisel joins us now, UCLA wide receivers coach, former quarterback, has been on the staff there for quite some time. So, Jerry, is it just hell to live out there in paradise every day with the breeze and the sand and everything?
It's dreadful. It's 83 degrees outside right now. A little bit of breeze off the ocean. We're only 5 miles away. So to be out here recruiting right now and not at the beach, it's really, really rough.
Oh, man.
And you take, guys there on a recruiting trip, and I'm sure they just hate it, especially if they're from, different parts of the world that don't exactly look like what West Hollywood.
Yeah, we found that most of the guys from, the Midwest, anything like that, where it's been a little bit colder, they seem to hate the beach. Or at least hate it enough that they don't want to leave when they get here. But
Jerry
it's an
Neuheisel,
unbelievable place.
the UCLA wide receivers coach. All right, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about this receiver, Kyle Phillips, because you coached him. But I have to ask you this first. You played pro football in Japan, is that right?
What?
I did.
I never heard of it, Jerry, till I was looking into you.
Well, it was an unbelievable experience. I'll tell you this. It was the first time I'd seen over the offensive line in a very long time.
I can't see over anybody. I'm excited for you.
What are you trying to say, that they were a little shorter than the linemen?
It's just a little bit different than it was here when I was here at UCLA. I think we were just blessed with a couple 6'8" tackles.
Oh, okay.
But
Gotcha.
it was an unbelievable experience. I think there's only 4 Americans per team.
Oh,
I played for the Obic Seagulls. It's actually really a company league. So, the Fujitsu Frontiers, Fujitsu has a team, Panasonic's got a team, and most of the players on the team, they actually work for the company Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday, Sunday, they bring all their kids to the practice, and we practice Saturday and Sunday. It's an unbelievable experience. And to be honest, it's probably the reason I got back and I wanted to get into coaching. To see their love for football and things like that, it made me want to come back and kind of get back to the game. It was an unbelievable experience living in Tokyo for a year.
So did you get to do football only, or were you also like 9 to 5 in it for this company, in a cubicle somewhere?
Well, the crazy part was I got hired out of college. I was the starting quarterback, the quarterback coach, and passing game coordinator. And at first I thought there was a language barrier, and I'm sitting here going, I'm like, wait. So you're going to let me play, coach myself, and call my own plays? And they said, yes. I said, where do I sign?
Oh, wow.
Done deal.
Japanese pro quarterback, Jerry Neuheisel. He also happened to coach Titans draft pick Kyle Phillips. He joins us now on Blaine and Mickey.
Man, what a heck of an experience,
Love
man.
it.
It sounded like that was really fun. It made me think about, you said that's what led you to actually coaching. If you weren't coaching, what do you think you would be doing?
I don't know.
Because it's in the family, right? It's in the family. It was hard.
Well, the crazy part, when I was growing up, instead of getting like a bedtime story or anything like that, my dad would break out this old wooden board, and he'd get the 22 pieces out, and he made me have to design offense and play against him. And we do 2-minute drills. We do all that stuff since I was about 3 years old. I think there's a press conference where I actually named all the quarterbacks in the NFL at the Cotton Bowl when I was 4 years old. So I think I had no choice in the matter. I was always going to get somewhere in football.
Oh, man, no doubt about it. That sounds like it. I guess outside of your dad, like, growing up, as your dad is the head coach, who would you say you kind of looked to or was a somewhat of a mentor outside of your father?
Well, I think I've been really lucky to have 2 really good ones. Noel Mazzoni, who I played for here, who actually ended up hiring me at Texas A&M as my first coaching job, has always been like a football dad to me. And, being able to work for him and being able to coach under him has been an unbelievable experience. And then at A&M, I got to meet Coach Kelly, and to be honest, I would go to the ends of the earth to keep working for him because he's an unbelievable mentor and a boss and somebody that I truly look up to. And so to be here with him and to be able to sit in these meetings and, learn offense from him, it's been an unbelievable experience and one that, I'm truly appreciative of every day.
Man, I'm sure everybody tells you this, but you actually even sound somewhat like your dad.
Well, that's his fault. We moved. Didn't have enough friends. I spent way too much time with my dad.
Oh, man. All right, before we get into Kyle Phillips, give us your fondest memory as a Bruin playing there. Because I was watching some highlights. I was like, oh, man, I saw you go against Texas. So I don't know
beat
if
those
Well,
guys.
I'm glad you watched it. That's the only game I got to start. So you can stop after that one.
That was it.
You're player of the week, man.
I'm glad. I was 1 for 1. I'm like the one-hit wonder of UCLA football.
Hey, man.
But It was an awesome game. Actually, my brother 2 years before that game had this idea I was going to play in it, and ideally, Brett Hundley was going to leave for the NFL after he killed Virginia Tech at the Sun Bowl, but he comes back, and I end up having 40 family members at the game in Texas, and got a chance to get carried off the field by my teammates in Jerry's world, and the rest is history. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Man, that was pretty awesome, man. You had a heck of a day. You said, "Yep, I should have always been the starter."
Yeah,
that's what you really said. I know what was happening. Now on to Kyle Phillips. We're on with Jerry Neuheisel, wide receiver coach at UCLA, and I'm gonna ask you kind of a broad question here, just in coaching wide receivers in general, not necessarily Kyle Phillips, but what is the hardest transition for them to learn from high school to college?
Well, I think it has to do with the understanding of a defense. I think when you're in high school, you're used to being the man, and you can kind of go out there, run any route you want, and you're open. Well, when you get to college and everyone's more athletic, well, now you got to understand the coverage, you got to understand leverage, you got to understand how your route works, and really understand depth and timing. And I think that whole understanding of it can take you from being a good receiver to a great receiver. And it's something that, Kyle really bought into, and I think it's one of the things that made him a first-team All-Pac-12 receiver last year.
Well, kind of go into depth a little bit. Kind of take us through, so with the fans and even personally from the media perspective, what to expect from him. What makes him so special in his own right?
He is a true football player. If you have a chance to, and you can go back and watch his highlights, you can actually pause it. And anytime you watch him, he's always equidistant between everybody he's playing against. In zone, we're always trying to tell him to find the fat of the defense, trying to find the open space. And every time you pause it, he's exactly where he's supposed to be. His understanding of coverage, his understanding of creating separation at the top of the route. There's a route against LSU, against Derek Stingley, who was a first-round pick, where he left him in his dust. Bennett decided to break a tackle on a spin move and score a touchdown against him on a big upset in the Rose Bowl. But he is a really, really special player, and what you can expect from him is a dynamic returner and somebody who will always be open when he needs to be open. He was a huge third down threat for us, and he always knew how to create separation and create space, and he'll be a guy who will die for the Titans, will go out and make plays for you.
What about the return game now? I seen him return a couple kids. I saw actually one of them live.
Well, I can't take any credit for that. That's all Coach Foster here. I'm not nearly fast enough to be a return coach, but he's got a natural feel for space, and he's got a natural feel to get north and south with the football. And I think that's the hardest part about being a returner. Most of them want to go left and right, and they're looking for open space. He feels vertical seams, and so his ability to get north and south and create missed tackles, it's really separated him over the past couple of years here in the conference.
We're on with wide receiver coach from UCLA of Kyle Phillips, former, Kyle Phillips, Jerry Neuheisel.
So, Jerry, he did lead Pac-12. He led Pac-12 receivers. He had 10 touchdown catches last year. He's got nose for the end zone, one of the all-time touchdown catchers at UCLA, and there's been some fantastic receivers who's come out of there. That really sounds like some fantastic coaching on your part there.
I wish I could take any credit. I think that has more to do with Coach Kelly's play calling and him putting in the right position and him understanding coverage. But, I think the one thing about the red zone, his nose for the end zone, has to be his ability to create separation at the top of a route. He has the ability to freeze a defender and run away from him. And there's not a lot of guys who can do it. There's fast, and then there's football fast. And to me, he is the perfect example of football fast and always be having a nose for the football and being able to make plays.
Well, I wanted to ask you about this because when they drafted him, people tweet about stuff, and they were like, "Oh, his 40 time didn't look good." He's one of those dudes, though. Don't judge him by 40 time, right? That's not an eye popping thing you're going to get with him. Just watch the tape.
Well, I think 40 times are great, but I think if the guys are making plays a game and they're making plays against guys that you're looking at their other 40 times and he's running away from them, well, then that might not be the best metric to measure his speed. We measure it on miles per hour with our GPS systems and things like that. He's run over 22 miles per hour in games for us. So I think in terms of game speed, he'll always have enough gas in the tank. And I think he'll end up making a team really, really happy, and I'm glad he ended up with the Titans.
Yeah, I think Titans fans are too, and it seems like he's the guy who, all these guys who scout and talk about the draft and players making immediate impact. Jerry, he seems like a guy that a lot of football people think he could immediately come in, even at a hard position in the NFL, and contribute immediately just because of his skill set.
Well, I think so, and I think the one thing that he also knows is he's got to put in the work. I think success at that level is a byproduct of all the work you're going to put in the off season, and so I know he's ready to come in there and work and learn the offense, and he'll probably be the last one to leave and the first one to show up. So that's the part of him that I know will lead to success up there, and that's why I know that he will have tremendous success route running, return game wise, whatever they need him to do, because he'll be a true team player for them.
We've got 2014 Pac-12 Player of the Week against Texas, Jerry Neuheisel, who now coaches receivers there for UCLA. He joins us now. We're talking about Kyle Phillips.
That was just one of the few times that he did.
Well, he didn't want to show off too much.
I appreciate you that, because that was the only time. I won more academic awards here than football awards.
Hey, student athlete, don't forget that.
If student comes first.
Yes, it does, sir.
Always, especially there at the poolside in the sand there on UCLA's campus, right?
Well, it's just a great place to get your studying done.
That's exactly what I said.
It's always been a great place to study for tests.
Except I probably wouldn't have been around too long. We're with Jerry Neuheisel, wide receiver coach for UCLA. I guess, what would you compare Kyle Phillips' skill set to that's actually in the league, if you can kind of go that far? I know you're not watching a lot of NFL football, but you can kind of mirror and see he could potentially be somewhat like this player.
I guess because he's back in the league now, we can say he's a lot like Julian Edelman. That whole Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, things like that, where you're a true slot receiver who can go in and create separation with option routes. And, a lot of what we do here is a lot based off what Coach Kelly was running in the NFL. So the option route game, things like that, he's had 3 to 4 years of experience running it. So I think that won't be a major jump for him. And I think it'll be something that he can excel at right away when he gets up there. And just as long as he learns the offense and puts in the work, I think he'll have an immediate impact.
Two-part question. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but give us examples of his work ethic and then his personality.
Well, personality-wise, he's a true California kid. Okay. He grew up at the beach, things like that. He's got an unbelievable love for life, things like that. But he also wants to work. He's not afraid when his back's against the wall to come out swinging. So he's one of those kids that, push comes to shove and it's a third down. He's also not afraid to go mix it up and go block. There's a lot of clips you can go watch him against UCLA where he's, the lead blocker. He's turning into a fullback for us. There's a clip against LSU where he pancakes Stingley on the goal line to get us in the end zone. He's not afraid to mix it up, even though he's not the biggest guy in the world. And he's just a fighter, and he's one of the best kids I've ever been able to coach. And, in terms of what he'll do in the meeting room, he's going to be the first one to show up. He'll be the last one to leave, and he'll have an unbelievable knowledge of everything and all the intricacies of the offense. He really loves the why. Why are we doing this? Because if he can understand the why of it, he can, he makes the most of it, and now he can be able to operate it because, unfortunately, a receiver, it's not always how it looks when we drew it up on the board. But if he understands the why, then he'll do a great job of making sure he can execute the play how the coach wanted it to be done.
Well, I was definitely a why guy, so I'm already loving him, and I loved him anyway coming into this conversation. But I guess tell us, in capsule, and maybe you've already done that, but tell us a funny story, or it doesn't even have to be funny, just a story about him that maybe happened through his time there at UCLA that you would say, in a positive light is something that people need to know.
Well, I would say the only thing that he always gets nervous about the first punt return of a game. He always says the first play of the game has to be punt return. And I don't know why. It's just like he got a pregame jitter, something like that. He always wants to be on offense before he has to punt return. So every time he would look at me and be all nervous, and I'd be like, no, just go do it. You got it. And every single time he'd catch it, and I'd almost take it to the house. And he'd come back. He's like, you were right. You were right. I'm like, I don't even know why you get all nervous for all this stuff anymore. But he will be ready. He'll be ready. I guarantee if they give him a chance, punt number 1, when he's returning, he'll be ready when he gets a chance for the Titans in preseason.
Yeah, I expect him to be ready and continue taking them to the house. We're on with Jerry Neuheisel, wide receiver coach for UCLA.
All right, I only got a couple more. Number one, I wanted to follow up a little bit with what Blaine just asked. Can he break dance, or does he like tacos? Because, can he sew a quilt together? What's something about him so when we have him on, we'll just shock him with hey, man, we know that you can make a souffle out of cheese or whatever it is. Have you got some inside info?
I don't know about his souffle making. He might have learned that over the past couple months. He's been without us. He's been at home. So he might have learned how to make a souffle in the time he's been off. But I do know he does know all the best spots in San Diego. So if you're looking for a tour guide, he is San Diego through and through. If you're looking for anybody to tell you where the best fish tacos are in all of San Diego, he's the only one to hit up. And every time I'm in town, because that's my recruiting area, I make sure he tells me exactly where to eat. He knows all the best spots over here. So when he's out there, make sure you show him the best barbecue in Tennessee, because that's all he's been talking about for the past couple of weeks.
Oh, barbecue. Okay, I didn't know if he was. I didn't know if we needed to, get him towards a vegan spot or something like that. Yeah.
What is the deal with everyone thinking in California we're all vegan?
No, y'all just eat a little healthier.
Maybe a little bit. I can't fight you on that one. There might be a few more vegan and organic places out here than anywhere else. But
yeah, it's not a lot of. Yeah, you got to go looking long and hard to find. There's no organic barbecue. Let's leave it at that.
All seriousness, I have to find places like that, Jerry. I cannot find it. I'll go to the same spot every time.
He's more of a taco stand guy than anything. He'll find you the best taco truck around.
All right, on the way out, all these SEC fans are listening to you. Jerry Neuheisel played quarterback at UCLA. He's the receivers coach now, Coach Kyle Phillips. But now, Blaine and me, we watch football on Saturday, and I stay up all night and even watch the West Coast games. Tell all these SEC people what they're missing if they're not staying up on Saturday night to watch UCLA and all these fast-paced West Coast teams.
Well, now you're trying to get me into trouble over here. But I think
no, we're trying to help you recruiting. What you talking about?
TV ratings, yeah.
Listen, I think the hardest thing in the world is the time difference. But in terms of football-wise, I think it's as good as any conference in the country. I think schematically-wise, we're about up there with anybody. I think it's really, really good athletes. And as you see, there's a lot of them playing on Sundays. We put 6 guys in the league this year. There's 13 of our guys from last year's roster that have now signed NFL contracts. And I think that's more than most of the teams in the SEC. I know there's a couple that are above us. I know with Georgia and Alabama and things like that. But, we're putting really good players out there. And I think just because of our time zone doesn't mean you shouldn't stay up, or at least TiVo it or DVR it so you can watch it the next day. Because there's really good football out here. There's really good talent out here. And I'm looking forward to more games where we can take on the SEC and figure out who the best conference in the country is.
Ooh. Well, when you come see Kyle, here's what you can come and hang out with us. Like, just do the whole show with us or something. You got open invitation.
I would absolutely love that. I know that Sirius XM is based there. My dad's on that, so he's in Nashville all the time. So I got to make sure we turn it into a whole family trip when I come see you guys.
We got a seat for each of you. He can bring his guitar. We'll have a good time. Jerry,
don't say that. You won't get us off the air then.
Oh, my. Oh,
Jerry, thank you, man. People can follow you on Twitter at Jerry Neuheisel, and they can stay up late and watch your games this fall. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Jerry Neuheisel. He looks like his dad. He sounds like his dad.
Oh, man. That is crazy.